Hey everyone, welcome to Strange Stories, where we explore near-death experiences and supernatural stories from people who've had a glimpse of the other side. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, let's get to the story of the day. My tonsils were scheduled to be removed when I was 6 years old. I recall meeting the surgeons, who were cheerful and cracking jokes with me. The anesthetic was administered by one individual. I had to count backwards from 10 to 0, and I recall that on the count of 6 or 7, it took me longer to say the next number. I dozed off. I thought I was dreaming at one point. In my dream, I awoke to find 3 doctors really preoccupied with me. I could see myself still lying there, but I could also see myself floating. I had a view from a high point in the room. I didn't think much of myself when I saw these 3 doctors so busy. I didn't feel anything or experience any feelings. I did notice a light in a corner behind me, shaped like a circular gateway. It was simply there. I didn't feel a strong physical desire to enter, but it felt natural, or perhaps there was an emotional pull. I did, however, enter the gateway. Hello. I'm your father's grandfather. I was assigned to meet you. You can come with me since you're permitted to enter paradise, a young man my age said. You don't really look like a grandfather, I said, looking at him. I thought this image would make you feel more comfortable, but if you prefer this, he smiled. And when I glanced, he had changed into the image of an old man. He laughed. He was probably attempting to make me feel at ease, but I was fine. I looked around and noticed that I was in a white space. There were no walls. We were walking as if on something other than floor. There was no ceiling. It was all white. I noticed a white wall in the distance. On its side, the wall was the side of a townhouse. The wall was white, and there was a brightness behind it that emitted a bright white light. The white light was emitted in a circular pattern that was larger than the wall. I couldn't see what was behind the wall. All I could see was the bright light. I did notice 2 people on the other side of the wall. They were looking at whatever was hiding behind the wall. They were insignificant in relation to the wall. One person was standing and calm. The other appeared to be a robust, bearded man in his 50s, kneeling and wailing in front of the light. I could feel the brightness as we were nearing it. It's a sensation I'll never forget. It was all out of love. The outpouring of affection was amazing. I couldn't help but cry with delight. Nothing mattered at the time. You were accepted exactly as you were. I snapped out of it. I was still behind the wall, traveling towards the light with my great-grandfather. I'm not sure if he asked me a question, but I found myself answering, I should go back. Why? He asked, looking at me. My folks would be terribly sad, I informed him. Furthermore, I still have a lot of friends with whom I enjoy spending time, and I have a complete life ahead of me. Then you should return, he said. At the time, I was preoccupied with the question, but how can I get back, and began to look about for a way back. And then, without a word or explanation, everything went black, and I awoke on the operating table. Well? You gave us a nice scare, but we managed to get you back, one of the surgeons said. But tell me, did you see or dream something? He asked, pausing. My tonsils had been removed, so I couldn't really speak. I fell asleep again and later discovered my parents and younger brother alongside my bed. This experience felt like another dream to me at the moment. I only now realized what happened after the age of 40. People always characterize me as very peaceful and sometimes even calming to others. A couple more events occurred between then and now. As a child, I used to wonder what might happen in the future. Things like, how might my future wife look? Where will I be working? Sneak looks into the future revealed to me what will I do. I glimpsed my future self at an event in those brief dreams. For example, I may be sitting at a table with strangers discussing something, or I could see the face of a young woman who could have been my wife or kid. The realization comes only as the event occurs, much like a déjà vu, and this prompted the inquiry. If events are known years before they occur, what is this life all about? I still don't have an answer. I also don't question it as much anymore. It is what it is, and I'm grateful to have such a joyful existence. People describe me as quiet or very calm around others. At the same time, I occasionally irritate folks without provocation simply because we live in the same area. For instance, I was waiting for my luggage at an airport in the United States. A nun, extremely tiny in stature and of age, sat next to me. I could tell she was worried, which struck me as unusual. She was, after all, a nun, but I imagined she wasn't used to traveling. She looked at me at some point, her brows arched as if she wanted to pose a question. I returned my gaze, smiled, and gently closed my eyes. She smiled at me and nodded to herself as if to say, "Have faith." She remained quiet after that. Her baggage came moments later. A man on the other side of her assisted the nun with her luggage. When she left, the nun thanked me while disregarding the man who assisted her with her luggage. That infuriated the other guy almost to the point of being violent. I also had instances when I appeared to infuriate the males. When I was younger, I was frequently challenged to fight with the person raving. To me, it's as if I'm speaking in a language I don't comprehend. Those moments emerge from nowhere, in a library while reading a book, over a drink with friends, while walking down the street, and so forth. When I'm around, it seems like evil becomes irritated. Fortunately for me, it never got violent or physical, but it's still bizarre to see someone get worked up over nothing. At the age of 40, I experienced a midlife crisis or depression. Nothing major happened. I simply observed that my level of energy or drive was vanished. I created an ICT company while I was in my 40s. I worked 12 hours a day and was always on top of everything. It was a success and I made a profit. A year or two later, I co-founded a new business with my father. During that time, the sadness set in. I was still there, doing what needed to be done, but nothing more. I knew, or at least convinced myself, that it was merely a midlife crisis that would pass, but it lasted a long time. I awoke in the middle of the night one evening. My wife was still asleep close to me. A human-like figure stood at the foot of the bed. It lacked facial and body traits and was more of an energy entity. The next thing I noticed was that I had energy in my brain. That energy was similar to what I felt in the white area, but instead of hugging me, it felt like it unscrambled my head. My depression vanished following this encounter, albeit gradually over a few months. Today, I'm grateful for this being's appearance and assistance in guiding me through this dark moment in my life. Anyway, that's my tale. I think about it more now than I used to, especially since I'm feeling an urge to do something with this right now. The realization that I needed to help people was more important than the near-death experience, but I'm not sure how or in what capacity. Only time will tell, I suppose.